When I'm on the water, in a way, there's so much going on for me, but in a way, there's nothing going on. It's really simple. When it comes to ocean skiing, being out there, there's something that I used to get when I was in the mountains, this sense of me versus Mother Nature. You're out there in the elements and feel tiny and small and weak, yet somehow you manage to come through it all. I joined the Marines in September 2002 when I was 19 years old. So I kind of had this sense that I would enjoy it and be suited to it, really. And there was a thirst for adventure, a thirst for trying to prove myself to the world as a young man. I was on my second tour in Afghanistan, and the first one had been a fairly easy tour for me. Whereas this tour, we knew from 6 months beforehand that we were going to a really dangerous place. We knew a month before we went out there that, within Sangin, that dangerous town, we were being put in quite a dangerous patrol base. So you kind of knew what you were letting yourself in for. We were going on a patrol to go and visit a local farmer, and his farm was on a hill that overlooked us, and he used to get a lot of harassment by the Taliban, so every now and again we'd just nip up and go and make sure he was okay. On the 16th of June 2010, I was commanding a patrol. We left under cover of darkness, probably about 4 o'clock in the morning. We patrolled out, we crossed the main road, then out onto the open ground towards the hill that he lived on. The lights started to come up. Not long after that, I don't know whether it was seconds or minutes, I just had this experience of my world going into slow motion, sense of flying through the air. I was kind of looking upwards at a grey dawn sky. I knew what had happened straight away, and then I landed on the ground, and everything went from that kind of slow motion to a double speed. I could sense the panic and fear of the guys around me in the situation, so I knew how serious it was. I think there was this sense of fear that if I became unconscious, that might be it. I might not come round again. I was kept in a coma for 3 days, and then I came round, and I very quickly had this sense that I could either roll over and die, or I could get up and get on with it, and there kind of wasn't any middle ground for me. So within, I think, sort of a few days of being conscious, I was starting to try and think about what I needed to do for my rehabilitation. At first that was stuff like trying to learn how to brush my own teeth with my left hand, and learning how to write again, and then I think about a week later they got me into a wheelchair for the first time. And so then it was like, how do I learn to get myself out of bed into a wheelchair, and all these little things. And then, luckily for me, outside of the obvious injuries, the amputations, there really wasn't anything else. There literally wasn't a scratch on other parts of my body. And so that meant I was able to just focus on, within days really, on trying to gain enough independence that I could leave hospital. I was given my first prosthetics about 8 or 9 weeks after my injuries, and they're a great way just to sort of relearn your sense of balance and build up your muscles again. I just sort of committed to wearing them as much as I could. I was proficient on those by about 9 months after my injuries, and it was 12 months and 3 days actually after the incident. I put my wheelchair in the garage and just left it, and so I just spent all day every day on my prosthetics. I think one of the cool things about getting into competitive sport has been that sense that you're part of a community, and a really welcoming community. Wherever I go, people are always super supportive. Some of it is just encouragement, but loads of it actually is physical support. I really struggle carrying a boat across a sandy beach or rocky beach. So now, weirdly, through kayaking, One of my closest friends is 19-year-old girl, Amy, who it just so happened that we were both at a similar level very quickly, and so we ended up training a lot together. And in a funny kind of way, although physically she's been helping me, we've kind of helped each other and developed each other. It's just having that support and being part of that community is so important for me. It's just part of what makes me resilient, to be honest. Kayaking's become this really central part of my life now, and I quickly realised it was an exercise that could give me a full body aerobic workout without doing too much damage. One of the things I love about being in a boat and on the water is it definitely dampens down any sort of sense of disability for me, and I feel like I'm on a much more level playing field with everyone else. I was really into sort of mountaineering, skiing, climbing before I was injured, and being out on the ocean in particular in all kinds of weather, it's like you versus nature, and it's that same sense of excitement that you get when you're out in the mountains. And then when you catch waves, that's like skiing. The rush you get when a wave suddenly picks you up, you catch it right, and all of a sudden you're accelerating the boat, and that rush is just amazing. It never gets boring. And sometimes that could happen 10 times in an hour. You just get this huge buzz, and you come off the water absolutely exhilarated. And then there's the racing side of it over long distances, where you get that buzz of pushing yourself to your limit, which I've done a fair few times. Again, that's just an amazing feeling to have. I find doing mindfulness practice and things like that really difficult, just to sit still. But what people describe as mindfulness to me is what I experience when I'm in a boat. All I can think about is this one thing that I'm doing. I'm just one stroke at a time. I can't be thinking, what's going on in 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 3 hours time next week. I can just focus on the moment. There's this sense that I'm doing stuff which I would have done beforehand, and it's the kind of stuff that I know other people with all of their limbs can't necessarily do, and so there's this real sense of achievement for me, which is clearly good for my ego and makes me feel good about myself.